Hey everyone, this is Zach, and today we are going to talk about some support mons that are coming in Regulation E with the Teal Mask DLC. So, for those of you who do not know, Regulation E was announced. I made a quick little video on it. It is going to run from October 1st to the end of November, and it is basically, for what we know, going to include the Teal Mask DLC mons. The ban list has yet to been announced, but for now, let's just assume it's going to be all the mons that we see in Regulation D, as well as the mons that are added in the Teal Mask DLC. So there's a decent amount, and not all of them are the best for VGC. You could probably make most of them work in some way, but today we are going to talk about the support mons, because getting new support mons does open the way for more mons to be competitive and to be viable. So let's talk about it. The first one we have is Clefairy. Clefairy is really good. I know that Clefable is good in singles, but when it comes to VGC, it's Clefairy, and it's all because of that Eviolite. What Eviolite does is that it increases the defense and special defense, gives it a 50% boost of 1.5 times. So if we look at its stats, it has, decent bulk. But when you look at these stats and you times them by 1.5, you basically have both your defenses in the 140. Now, you can run this Clefairy at max speed, or you can run it at 0 speed. It really doesn't matter. At a spear tier speed of 55, it's usually going to go last. And with things like Helping Hand and Follow Me being priority, you're really not going to worry about the speed that much. So it gets a bunch of good moves. It gets Follow Me, Icy Wind, Helping Hand, Protect. I think it may also get like Heal Pulse. And if you really want to be crazy about it, you can get Sing, which puts a target to sleep. It is only 55% accurate, so you're usually better off with any other move. But if you want to run Sing Clefairy, it is something that is possible. Clefairy has always been really good VGC-wise, being a great support mon, and it has that bulk. The only other Friend Guard mon we've really had since then, we have like Vivillon, we have Mousehold, and then Jigglypuff. Now, Jigglypuff can have the Eviolite as well, but as you can see, its defenses are a lot lower than Clefairy's, which makes Clefairy a lot better as a Friend Guard user than Jigglypuff. So Clefairy is going to be really good. It is a Friend Guard user, the first Friend Guard user that can take advantage of the Eviolite and make good use of it. Vivillon and Mousehold, being fully evolved Pokemon, weren't able to use it, so it usually used items like the Focus Sash or some kind of berry and built very bulky. Clefairy just hangs around the field, and it also allows its teammate to hang around on the field as well. Next up is Dusclops. So when it came to Trick Room before Cresselia, you had very limited options on your Trick Room setter, and most people opted for the Armorogue and Didi, maybe a Torkoal, somewhere like that. Cresselia came along, Ursaluna came along. Those became good Trick Room mons. There's also Glastrier. I don't see Glastrier used too often, but now with Dusclops, it is a little more viable. So first off, Dusclops, once again, just like Clefairy, takes advantage of that Eviolite. And now with open team sheets, pressure is actually pretty good. You can use this to take the PP, the Pokemon points, the power points, a little faster, and that kind of prevents the opposing team to stall out with things like protecting this and that. And it basically can swing a match in your favor, especially if it's something that goes time, or if you're facing something that's like stally. For ladder though, you're probably still going to want to go with Frisk because it's not open team sheets. So on switch in identifies the items, but now pressure is viable. Now that open team sheets are a thing, there's no reason to run Frisk if you're taking Dusclops to a tournament. So this allows Dusclops to use another ability a little better. Dusclops is going to be tricky though, because a lot of times against a lot of team compositions, you're probably going to want to terrestrialize it because there are a lot of things that threaten it now. The Chi-Yu Fluttermane combo, having the dark type moves from Chi-Yu, having the ghost type moves from Fluttermane, a really bad thing. Chien-Pao, Urshifu Dark, the dark type moves from both of those Pokemon can potentially do a lot of damage, not to mention the Beads of Ruin and Swords of Ruin will make this Pokemon weaker, which is not something you want in a Dusclops. But you can get a pretty good defensive stat with a very low HP, but the defenses really make up for it, especially with that Eviolite. And then you start getting things to stay on the field and be obnoxious for as long as possible. Will-O-Wisp being an attack that not an attack, but a move that burns the target, so it allows Dusclops to take damage better. Pain Split allowing for recovery, but also taking health away from your opponent, or even in some crazy scenarios, taking health from a teammate to stick around a little bit longer. Trick Room, obviously you want Dusclops for the Trick Room, and then usually the attacking move is Nightshade, which is always going to do 50 damage in VGC. Dusclops can be very reliable. I don't think it's going to be as reliable as it was in Sword and Shield, because there are a lot more things that threaten it for a lot of damage, even compared to like Dynamax Mons. Like Fluttermane Chi-Yu combinations, if they double into it and it doesn't terrestrialize, it's probably easily going to get a knockout. I haven't done any calcs yet, but I can say that it's probably like a Chi-Yu Fluttermane double up can probably knock out almost any Dusclops. That doesn't terrestrialize, that is. I originally thought Bug, but I think for the Terra type, you could probably do like Water. Water is a great defensive typing. Maybe to deal with the onslaught of dark type moves that Dusclops might have to deal with is Fairy, or even something like Terra Normal, for example. That way the ghost type moves from something like a Fluttermane or a Basket Legion don't do any damage, but it's probably just going to be Water. Let's be real. Water is just a really good defensive typing, or even Grass, so it doesn't have to deal with Sleep Powder stuff, so it can more reliably set up Trick Room. You also get access to things like Taunt, Helping Hand. Dusclops can be used in many different ways, but don't be surprised. Like this is the set that you're going to see most of the time. The next one is Mandibuzz. So Mandibuzz, I feel like, is underrated, but in the formats in Sword and Shield where there wasn't Dynamax, like Mandibuzz was actually usable. And now with terrestrialization, you can cover a lot of weaknesses, and I feel like that's going to make Mandibuzz a lot better. Mandibuzz is really bulky with a good defense, a good decent special defense, and not too bad HP, so it can take a beating really well. I can see this thing tacking on maybe a Rocky Helmet to just soak up damage and punish Pokemon like going into it. And with the dark typing, you can't taunt it. Like you can't use prankster moves against Mandibuzz, so you can take advantage of that. Not to mention with the ability Overcoat, you are immune to powder moves. You don't take sandstorm damage, and so you can use it with different types of setup. You don't have to worry about Spore from Amoonguss. You don't have to worry about Rage Powder. So that lets you safely like fire off moves, and especially like firing off those taunts to shutting down things like Amoonguss, for example. Unfortunately, its attack and special attack is not really that great. So I feel like for the most part, you're going to use it for damage mitigation and setup. Things like Taunt, Tailwind, Snarl are going to be obvious. Foul Play is going to deal a lot of damage, and use it in a way where you don't have to invest into the attack for Foul Play to do well. And if you don't want Foul Play, you can always go Heatwave. I think Heatwave is pretty good on here. Being able to fish for burns on a Pokemon like Mandibuzz that can stay on the field decently well, I think Mandibuzz can be good. The next one is a little bit of a weird one, but hear me out here. Chargebug. Now, if you have been watching the channel for a while, you might have seen whether on my channel, Kanto Clark's channel, or even Pokesports, I made a Chargebug team in Sword and Shield, and Battery actually does really well. It doesn't do as well as like a Beads of Ruin, but it can really help with a lot of board states, because Chargebug has a decent amount of Moves that can help you out. First off, String Shot. String Shot lowers a Pokemon's speed by 2. So with that, you can basically invalidate Tailwind, which could be really helpful for setup. And if you want to do damaging moves, you can also have Electro Whip, which lowers the speed by 1. So you can keep you can land a String Shot and then keep stacking speed drops from there. Bug Bite, I kind of like Bug Bite because Chargebug does have more physical attack, and it also eats Pokemon's berries. So especially in a format that is going to be open team sheets, you can be really strategic in stealing berries that those Pokemon might need, especially if you're low on health. Chargebug doesn't have any form of recovery, so if you target a Pokemon that you know has a citrus berry, you can get that citrus berry and recover off of it. And then for its last move, like you can have things like Thunder Wave for a little bit more speed control and some RNG. There is also, does it get taunt? No, it gets Toxic. Toxic isn't used too much in VGC anymore. Light Screens for some defensive support. Sticky Webs if you want to punish switches after the String Shot. A lot of speed control here, but it can be really good, especially with that battery giving a special attacker a 1.3% boost. Can you imagine having this next to a Chi-Yu and protecting with Chi-Yu turn 1 and then using String Shot and lowering the Pokemon speed by 2, and then Chi-Yu can just deal really big damage after that, especially with Beads of Ruin and battery. Like, that is going to be nuts. It also gets Eerie Impulse, so not only are you supporting your special attackers, but you have the tools to shut down other special attackers, especially if you're using like the Chi-Yu combination. I think Chi-Yu Chargebug could be really good. I'm not going to lie to you. Once again, Chargebug takes advantage of the Eviolite, where it gets a boost in its defense and special defense, and its HP is okay, and its defenses aren't bad. It really isn't. The only bad thing is that this Pokemon is pretty slow. Let's look at it at a level 50. So you're 41. You're pretty slow, but Chargebug isn't here to do damage. Chargebug is here for like speed control and damage mitigation, and can just be annoying. But I like using Chargebug. Chargebug is definitely really fun to use when it works. But I think Chargebug could be pretty good here. Now we've talked about different support mons, and now we talk about some of the, I don't want to say niche because they're not niche, but some of the support mons for certain modes. And that's going to be weather. So we got new weather setting mons. The first one being Politoed. Politoed gets Drizzle as a hidden ability, and Politoed can be really good. It's really bulky. It usually runs leftovers just to sit there and get the recovery. It has decent stats, not bad defense, not bad special defense, and okay HP. You have things like Helping Hand, Icy Wind, Pair Song, so you can set up end games with that. With the Pair Song, which can be really good, especially with Politoed. Protect is going to almost always be there, especially if you're running a Pair Song mode. Helping Hand and Icy Wind. You can run leftovers, you can run Damp Rock, but I think that leftovers is pretty good on its own. And so with the Icy Wind speed control, Helping Hand to boost its partner, and Pair Song to set up end games like Politoed is going to be pretty fun to use. Now, Politoed did get a little bit of a nerf. It no longer has Scald, as well as all the other mons, but who knows, maybe Scald might come back. That's what people are hoping. Yeah, doesn't have Scald anymore. It says it here, but that's because I have it on national decks to see the moves. So if you wanted a water type attack from Politoed, you would have to go with Hydro Pump. So if you don't want to run the Pair Song, you can run Hydro Pump. But Politoed is going to be really good here. Next up is Cantonian Ninetails. The original Ninetails carries Drought, so it is a way to set up Sun. Basically, if you wanted to use Sun before, you either had a Torkoal, a really slow Mon on a fast team, or you had a Torkoal team. You had a team that used Sun, but also had a Trick Room mode because you had to have a Torkoal anyway. With Ninetales, you don't necessarily need the Trick Room mode. You don't need the Solar mode. You can be more hyper offense with Sun. Granted, we've seen that with Tornadus setting up Sun on its own, but Ninetales is still pretty good here. It is pretty frail on the defenses and doesn't really have that much great attacking stats. But you have things like Heatwave to fish for burns, Will-O-Wisp if you want to get a burn for sure, Hypnosis if you want to have, fun. 60% accurate once again. You click that at your own risk. And Solar Beam for water type coverage, which you can use to punish some switch-ins, But the real Ninetales that we want to see is Alolan Ninetails. Now, we're not certain on whether Alolan Ninetails will be allowed in Regulation E. I do think it will be, so I would just prepare for Alolan Ninetails to be available. And Alolan Ninetails might, bring back Bundle. Because Bundle can set the Veil, and then Alolan Ninetails can use Blizzard, can use Icy Wind, can use Moonblast. It has like Helping Hand. I think it has a recovery move. It doesn't look like it gets that much any recovery moves. But one thing that is really good with Alolan Ninetales coming in this generation is that there are a lot of things that can be used to deal with Fake Out. For example, you could have the Covert Cloak, so you can take the Fake Out damage, but it doesn't matter anyway. You can Terrasilize Ghost type, so you are immune to the Fake Out. And so that was something that was hard for Alolan Ninetales in previous formats, is that it wanted to set up the Veil, but if you had a Fake Out Mon, or if you were able to change the weather, it got a little tricky there. But I think Alolan Ninetales will see a lot of usage. A lot of people love using Alolan Ninetales. It is a little better than Cantonian Ninetales, having that 9 extra points in speed. Being 109 versus 100 does really make a difference. If you want to max it out, you hit like the 177, which is not too bad, versus with regular Cantonian Ninetales, hits that 167. So it's a whole like 10 points faster if you're maxing it out. And it also gets moves like Freeze Dry and stuff like that. So Alolan Ninetales is definitely going to be one of the ones you want to watch out for. When it comes to sand, there's no additional like sand setters that I saw. No. Some honorable mentions. Mightyena has Intimidate. That's about all it's got going for it. And Trevenant is also another decent Trick Room setter, especially with the ability Harvest. You can set it up and get Trick Room up and do really well with it and just keep getting your berries back. But yeah, that's going to be all. What do you think about the supporting mons coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with the Teal Mask DLC? Which one are you excited to use? Which one are you going to use first? I think I want to use the Chargebug first. I think the Chargebug is going to pop off and Chargebug will be funny. But if you guys enjoyed this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, I want to say thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Zach. We'll see everyone later.